Welcome everybody to the Tack Box Podcast. Holy cow, we're going to call this season 2 now because when I upload this podcast, it always makes me put like what season and what episode number. And
Okay.
this is our 53rd episode, which means we've officially are in year 2 of the Tack Box
Okay.
Podcast. We've done it for a full year, so year 2, we'll call it season 2, going into
Season 2.
episode 53. Isn't that crazy? For a year
It
ago at
is.
this time,
It
we were
is.
recording the first one.
I mean, there you go. It's kind and we did more episodes than say for Landman, and they're already in season 3?
They're in season 3, yeah. We're
Yeah.
gonna pretty soon we're gonna be in like season 20, like The Voice, and just have so many seasons or Survivors at season 50 or whatever it is. Holy cow. Yeah, some of
Oh
these
my
things
gosh,
just fly
that's
by.
awesome. So what's
tell
the
me about
weather
your
like in South Dakota?
well, it's bipolar like South Dakota is this time of year. What was it, Thursday we got 6 inches of snow and snow drifts and all the things, and then it was 85 degrees on Saturday, so then it all melts and the grass is like, hey, we should start turning green. And then today it's like 35 and windy, so then all the grass and tree buds are like, yeah, no, let's let's go back in, like, we're not coming back out, so that's where we're at.
It's been a yo-yo. It's been a while. This spring has been a ride. I mean, we've been up, down, up, down, up, down.
Has it been crazy down there too, like that?
Not to the extreme. I mean, there's not going to be snow drifts or anything, but it'll be like, short sleeves, shorts, and then like, oh, a little cold, and then back and forth, but not like what you guys have had.
And it's so dry here, it's just like a fire every other day is popping up, and it's
I
getting
saw
like
Custer
absolutely
State
crazy.
Park where the fluffy cows in Custer State Park, that's all on fire. I saw that they had that's awful.
There's just like 700,000 acres that just burned up in Nebraska,
Whoa.
just south of South Dakota. Yeah, and then Custer State Park burned up, and there's been fires all over. It seems like it's just get the hell out of
Make
here.
sure you have your emergency plan for your kennel.
Yeah, have your emergency plan in place. And we got an episode on that. You got to go
There
back and
is.
listen to that and make sure you got things in place and identification. And actually, that's one of the things we're going to talk about today is identification.
All right. Well, what a nice segue. That was smooth. You went right into that. So let's go.
Went right into that. So we're recording a little bit early here because Dale has a unprecedented judging schedule on a Wednesday. Like, that seems interesting to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we were back from the time where dog shows were on Saturday and Sunday, and then once in time we go crazy and they would have a Friday show. And I mean, and the first time we saw a Monday show, I looked at that like, seriously, Monday? But now any day of the week, guess what? There's a show. It's
There's
like
a show.
there's a show, maybe 2. That is one thing. I don't have the stats on how many shows there are now, but I'm guessing it's a lot because they're all the time.
Well, and isn't there like 2 shows on Wednesdays? Is there 2 different shows in the same day at this club you're going to, I think?
I think there is. I just glanced at it and went, oh, okay, sure.
You're just going to show up,
I'm going to show up. They're going to point me in there and say, go there. So yeah, no, well, that's our last show. And then we head out to Manchester, England to do the big chin specialty over there. They're very happy. They have close to 90 some entries, which they said is a really big entry for them. So that's exciting. So
How does Jane
nice.
feel about that? Is like the international travel? Is she like on her toes, ready to go?
Well, yeah, so I mean, she's already got like passport and EU stuff, and I mean, she is definitely got the travel agent skills down where we are prepared, and she's got the chargers that we need, and you know, it would have been nice to spend a little bit more time there, but we are so slammed we have to get right back. So it's going to be but we have been figuring out how to stream movies while you're sitting on the plane for 12 hours and that kind of thing. So, yeah, it'll be fun. She's got like 15 some sweepstakes entries, so it's gonna be great. It'll be fun to see the breed in another country, and we've imported a lot of dogs from England, so it'll be very nice to go over and see what their dogs look like and feel.
Yeah, I think that'll be interesting just to see that aspect. And
Super cool.
gonna be a lot of black and white dogs, a lot of black and white chin.
No try.
So that'll be good. All right. So this episode, I wanted to start off the new season, new year with, kind of giving back to our listeners, and opened it up, on our Facebook group, and got a lot of comments from people. They like it. Seem I made a post about unfiltered, and whether it's good, bad, or ugly, and people like that. It seems like, because there's like, ooh, unfiltered opinion here. So we got a lot of
Here we
feedback on
go.
that. So we got a few good topics here that we're going to talk about, like dog shows, preservation breeding, some judging stuff, some microchipping stuff, and some bad
Okay.
breeder stuff. So we're going to hit a gamut of things today. So
Well, let's
let's
hit it.
start off with talking about shows versus clusters. Somebody wants us to talk about, well, you see somebody will be going to like this cluster of shows. And what does that mean comparative to just, you have a dog show in Denver one weekend, and the next weekend you have one in a suburb of Denver. Like, what's the difference between just shows in an area and clusters?
Okay, that's a good question. Today, so what used to be what we were talking about, the shows were weekends. The clubs would have like a weekend of shows. And now, partially because of economics, you know, they're going to go ahead and they'll have different clubs will go in and say, your club falls within this jurisdiction. There's an adjoining club. And so if we go ahead and bring our clubs together for this weekend, we can then have a cluster. And then maybe some specialty clubs would want to join into our cluster. So, like this last weekend up in Edison, New Jersey, we had the all breed shows, and then we had Boston Terrier specialties. There was non sporting group specialties, all of this stuff, which is, of course, makes for more opportunities to show your dog. So you can come pay one hotel room and you can show it a specialty. You can show it the all breed. You can show an owner handler group. You can show them the regular group. You have all these chances to do that. One thing that I'm going to say about that is look at your dogs hard and see which one of them. I mean, if you're going to do a cluster and you're going to do multiple showings in a day, you might want to enter more than one dog and like be strategic and say, not just enter one little puppy, 6 to 9 puppy, and try and show it 5, 6 times in one day. That might be too much. And so, go ahead and pick which ones you want to do with that. And if you're going to be there and you want to show more dogs, maybe enter some of them at this point and some at this point, so you don't just like, bury your young dog out there, and kind of figure out where you want to go with that, because you're only going to get so many shows in one day, and you can like coated dogs, you have to iron them out and do all that, you only do out the hair so many times in a day. So you have to kind of like really think long and hard about when you go to the cluster, how many times and what that looks like, how you want to do your entries for that.
I don't even think I could do multiple show. I mean, multiple shows in one day is rough. No matter, I mean, for humans,
Sure,
my gosh,
sure.
I get stressful on me even. But so is the term cluster? Is that something newer, or did that kind of is that been
So I
around for a
mean,
while?
it's been a while, but it's been taking new life, and where because the clubs are having a harder time coming up with venues. So if your club doesn't have a venue, say you don't have a spot to have your show, well, then we're going to go into an adjacent show and they have this weekend. So we'll take Thursday and Friday and you have your Saturday and Sunday. And then, that kind of thing. And that's, I think it's been done just for logistics. And the other thing is for exhibitors on the upside is you drive to one location, you set up, you hook up, you have your RV or whatever, and you might show where they're half a dozen times. I mean, you can have specialties, you can have your all breeds, you can have your owner handler groups, you can have your best puppy groups, bred by groups, all of these sweepstakes. Like this last weekend, they had bully Ganza, very cool. All the bully point winners, breed winners, opposite sex, they all got qualified for bully Ganza. I mean, so it's a lot, and you are getting bang for your buck. going to those clusters. And also, like, the vendors tend to show up for those because they're going to have a bigger gate. They're going to have more people coming through there. It's better shot of getting majors because there's more people are going to come, all of that. So the cluster has kind of taken over the weekend show. I mean, there's just not a weekend show is a hard sell. I mean, you have to have a great location and you have to have a loyal following because people are like, why should I go there and just show, 2 days? I can show 5, 6 days over here, you know, maybe 2 days, 2 shows in a day there, that kind of things. The cluster is kind of has seems to become the way of the future.
Yeah. And I think that what I kind of think about when I think of clusters, I think Florida kind of has it figured out because they have like, the AKC Nationals are in December in Florida, but then it seems like after that, there's all the kennel clubs in Florida. It's just like weekend after weekend after weekend, pretty much at the same venue in Florida. So it's like you can come down there in December, do the AKC National, stay through January, and every Thursday through Sunday, you got a dog show at the same venue. And it's just different kennel clubs every weekend. We got this weekend, we got this, and it's just like you got the Florida cluster or whatever they call it. And it's just like you're there for a month showing every weekend.
Absolutely, and that is kind of like you get these venues that are working well for clubs, and they're dog friendly, and the exhibitors like them, and then all of a sudden they become like a mecca, and it's like Purina Farms. That is,
Yeah.
I mean, Purina Farms. People, if you really step down and look at it on the pluses and minuses, you'd say it's far from the airport. It's not it's not a shuttle ride from the airport, it's far. There's not many close hotels to it, but it's an amazing site. It's great to have the dogs there, lots of camping. It's a beautiful facility, and they are so pro club.
Hey, everybody. Sorry for the interruption, but I just need to take a moment and remind you to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast network, wherever you're listening to this right now. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit a thumbs up button. Make sure you show us that you like this content, that we're doing good. Help us grow. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Now back to the show.
So pro dog, and I mean, so it just gets booked up all the time. I mean, they always have something in their event center, and you'll find spots around the country. We have a spot in down by north of Austin, it's in Belton actually, and the Bell County Expo Center, and they have probably 4 or 5 clubs have their clusters in that one spot, and it's very user friendly, and it's like, they locked and loaded for dog shows, so it's like one of the places that they just like to go. So you get that they get those places, and that's where it happens.
Yeah. No, that's good. It seems more beneficial for if you can go there and stay there for a longer period of time and get shows in. Like, I don't think I like the idea of like 6 to 7 to 10 shows in 3 days, but if you can go for a week and, you save on parking and all the things because you're there for a week at a time and kind of make yourself at home and, then get some shows in, like that seems good to me. But
Yeah.
then again,
Yeah.
I
No,
don't know. Sometimes like 3 days and you're just ready to be done, It's like 3 days. So
2
2
days,
or
2
2 days,
days,
Dale's the 2-day
2
guy.
day 2 days. Yeah, I really enjoy 2 days. After like, the 3rd day, the 4th day, I'm like, "Really?
Yeah.
We're doing this again?" Yeah, that's a lot.
Same breakfast from the hotel. It's getting old.
Mhm,
Same
yeah, it's
boring
like,
menu at the dog show. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
All right.
So
The next topic somebody brought up in our Facebook group was preservation breeder, and it generated a lot of comments. And there's a lot of different opinions on what preservation breeder means. So I wanted to talk about preservation breeder a little bit, and maybe how has the terminology or what people think being a preservation breeder actually means. Like, how has that changed over time? Have you seen that in your tenure in a smaller breed? Like, 20 years ago, a preservation breeder was, we're just trying to keep our
alright,
DNA
first, like,
alive.
let's just start from the
There we go.
20
Dale's
years
got
ago.
this. Here we go.
20 years ago, there wasn't such thing as a preservation breeder. That is just that's a catchphrase, a manufactured term that we threw in there to it's just like something, what people say, a puppy mill. What's a puppy mill? Oh, anybody you don't like, they can be a puppy mill, sure. Why
Anybody
not?
that breeds more dogs than you do, or they do
Anybody
it a
that
way you
breeds
don't
more
like to
dogs
do
than
it. Yeah.
that, okay, how about that? Preservation breeder is kind of something that came along a while back, and it's I think the gist of it is the idea is that we're breeding this breed at personal expense, and our goal is to be caretakers of this breed and ensure its survival for the next generation, and that the next generation, then they have an opportunity to have this breed. And I kind of think, for me, my take on it, which I mean, there is no Webster's definition of preservation breeder because it's not really a thing. It's just something it's just a little catchphrase, that they made up, and it's kind of like, where's the beef, whatever. Okay, preservation breeder. So ideally, if you have a rare breed or a breed that is not common, a breed that is in danger of going extinct, and you are breeding them at your own expense, because not because there's a tremendous pet market, they don't win a whole ton at the show, so it's not a big major ego trip. You're not selling a lot of puppies, because nobody knows what they are. You are preserving this breed for the next generation. You are doing this selflessly. I think that's the idea, that this is kind of an act of service, that you're raising these dogs as kind of like, I'm doing this as to preserve this breed for the next generation of fanciers. And I think it's a nice idea. I think it's a good thing. I mean, I think can you be a popular breeder and still be a preservation breeder? I don't know. Okay, sure, why not? You know, I mean, it's like, there you go. But it's a catchphrase, and it sounds nice. It doesn't just sound, it sounds it's supposed to, because, the Humaniacs from PETA and all that, they've made breeder into some really bad thing. They call them breeder greeter, all that crap. So, we've got the opposition. So this is kind of just like a nicing it up a little bit, making it sound a little bit noble, and which is fine. It's a great activity. I mean, I recommend it. Breed your dog. It's a lot of fun. It can be. But I mean, whether it's noble or not, I also do kind of think that people who turn around and give back to their breed, who do things for their breed, like maybe they're part of the club, maybe that they help with rescue, maybe they help put on a show, maybe they do a podcast, maybe they do the things that they don't personally benefit them, but it benefits their breed, gets information out. That's preserving your breed. That's a gold star. You're a better person for that, for not just having it be just only about you and only about your ego. Um, you know, so like I said, maybe there's room under that umbrella for the people who are volunteering for the clubs and volunteering for putting stuff on that they're preserving, and they're carrying out, they're carrying the torch for the whole sport.
I think the first question would be, what are we preserving? Are we preserving the actual breed, or are we trying to preserve breed type according to the standard? And then because when you think about Japanese chin, we've talked about this on the podcast before. At one point somebody thought, more eye white is better. So everybody started breeding a ton of eye white into the Japanese chin. Were we preserving the breed by doing that? Like we were, maybe we were preserving the opinion, one person's opinion of the breed standard, so it's kind of like, what are you necessarily preserving? Are you preserving the under your understanding of the breed standard, or are you trying
I
to
think
preserve
whenever you're
gene
doing
pool?
something, I think whenever you're doing something that doesn't just directly benefit only you, that anything that's a little bit of a selfless thing, whether like you say, whether you're helping doing training class, whether you're helping with the club, whether you're helping with the rescue, whether you're helping with, bring new people in, because let's face it, There is very, very little incentive to help new people get started in dogs. They're gonna make all these mistakes. They're gonna ask a shitload of stupid questions. They're gonna talk to you about them, then they're gonna make the mistakes anyway, and then we're gonna talk about why it went badly, like, who knew?
They're gonna take a dog with your kennel name on it and go into the show ring and look like an idiot and make you
Yeah,
look like an
all of
idiot,
that.
you know?
Yep,
Yeah.
all of that and more, and you think to yourself, "I coulda just sold the damn thing as a pet, got more money, and not any of this hassle," but hopefully that new person will then go ahead and maybe that person will be the next great breeder, and you're putting up with them and getting through that rocky patch. Maybe that's your biggest contribution. Maybe that person will breed for 30 years and do a fabulous job and do a lot of great things for your breed. Those are the things that probably kind of make a preservation breeder, when you're doing things that are not personally benefiting, but for the greater good, for the breed, for the sport, all of that. That's commendable.
I mean, you said a lot of really positive things in there, and things to think about, like, you don't even have to be breeding dogs really to be preserving the breed. The people, I mean, you could be a part of your club. Maybe you're out there doing meet the breeds and you're taking your dog out to all these shows doing meet the breeds so that people can understand and get to know the breed, but you never have a litter, but you're out there advocating for the breed, getting the breed out there. So technically you're still
Absolutely.
preserving the breed. You're doing all this selfless stuff to get the breed known and out there. You're still preserving, so I'd say you're a preservationist, in that
Yeah, well, there you
situation,
go.
something like that. And I think, something we've talked about before too is like if you're labeling yourself or claiming to be a preservation breeder, you're probably not hoarding everything for yourself. You're willing to, do a stud service for somebody because you want them to have semen, to their bitch that is going to help their
Mhm.
program grow. You're helping other people's programs get to the level maybe where your program is, or at least get, their foot in front of their other foot, moving in the forward direction. You're not just hoarding everything to yourself and it's like, I'm gonna keep all the good, all the small dogs for myself so I can win, and all the things. You're helping other
Other
people
people.
in that breed grow. So I think that's kind of the key aspect I would think about in myself if I were to label a preservation breeder.
Well, and like there was this weekend we at the show, uh we had wonderful Lhasa Apso breeder, uh Bobby Woods. She's 85, young, and she's not breeding anymore, but she was driving for the non-sporting club to pick up judges and get them to their hotels, making sure we got to the show on time, making sure we knew where to go to get food. And I mean, she was doing her part to make sure that the selflessly, she had no benefit to herself, whether or not we found food or not, or whether we got to, you know, but she went ahead and donated her. So even though she's not breeding dogs anymore, she's still a preservation breeder. She's still there, contributing how she can at that point. And I think that's the kind of big thing, is that you contribute as to where you are. And that's, there's so it's not like one set of rules for one, that this is what this means. You know, I watched this really great clip one time where they were showing this couple out in public, and the guy was getting they were actors, right? So they were filming this, and the guy was getting aggressive with the woman. And they had like, multiple sets of people came along, and they all helped in their own way. Like, so these young guys came by, and they just kind of stood in front of her, kind of like going, "We're just going to open up a can of whoop ass and beat you down right here." Yeah, and then a couple of motherly ladies came by, and they just kind of, 2 of them, like, pulled her to the side, and one of them went over and kinda, like, talked to him like his mother would talk. That's how they were handling it. And then, like, a couple of older folks were coming along, and you see this, granny pulling out her jitterbug from her gold lame thing, and she's calling the cops. Everybody was helping in the way they felt they could. And I mean, it's all contributing to the level and to your ability at that time that you can give. And that's what I think when you do that, then you can be a preservation breeder, because you are preserving the breed, the sport, the fancy, the appreciation for purebred dogs.
It's not like a breeder of merit, an AKC breeder of merit, where there's like, when you meet this, you can send in an application and we'll give you the title of AKC breeder of merit. There's not a
Right.
preservation
Right.
breeder title. It's kind of
Right.
interpretative, different ways, but I think there's multiple different ways you could probably be a preservation breeder. But all right, I think the horse is dead on preservation. We did not preserve this horse.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, bye. All right. So we had somebody talking about judging and how to thank a judge. And I get the impression they feel like a nuisance to a judge when a judge awards them something and they want to physically thank the judge for their award. So they want to know, when's a good time to thank a judge? Do you send a judge a win photo? If so, how do you go about doing all that coming from a judge?
So okay, sometimes just like when you are getting the ribbon, thank you. I really appreciate that. That's one way,
That's
very
usually
effective.
my way. I'm always just like,
Yeah,
"Hey, thank you so much for coming out and to our show." Like,
yeah,
"Thank you."
thank you.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
usually what
there
I
you
do.
go. That's one way. You can go if you want to need a show picture, if you want a show picture, that's another opportunity to, tell them it's your 100th champion and the 50th champion for its daddy and all. Yeah, I'm sure that's a nice time to talk about your dog too. You can visit about that. You can go ahead and post it on social media or sometimes, if you want to like date, you can take out a magazine ad because, all the judges are a bunch of boomers anyway, so they might actually be reading the magazine. But that's how we used to do is take out a magazine. Now just put it on social media and go, thank you, Judge so and so. I mean, yeah, that's nice too. That's all. And they have online ads. That's a very nice thing too. Some folks will go ahead and they have like a little handwritten thank you note with a picture of their dog and stuff, and they'll say, you know, Fluffy thanks you for the lovely win, and then they say, nice, nice. I mean, all very acceptable. Honestly, as far as like sending show pictures and stuff, yeah, it's kind of expensive, I mean, and who really has an album anymore to go ahead and put the picture in there right now? It's like that's that probably I probably like, past the time in the 90s where there's no need to send you know, pictures like that. I mean, I'm sure maybe somebody likes them and they'll say, but I don't have room for my own pictures. I mean, it's nice, thank you, but not necessary. You know, too expensive. Spend that money on something else. Buy your dog a toy. You know, but that's
So, is it appropriate to, if you were posting on social media and saying, group 1 placement under this judge, do you just type their name or do you tag them so they get notified, or how is that too much? Because
don't tag them.
okay.
Don't tag them because uh, there are rules against being tagged with the kennel club. So you can't. If the judge allows exhibitors to tag them on photos, they can in turn get in trouble.
Yeah, don't
So
do that, then you don't want your judges to get in trouble, especially if they
yeah,
awarded you something good. Yeah, my
right.
gosh.
Yeah, they're not allowed to uh, promote your dog in that beyond that event. So I mean, you don't tag them and don't put it on there. Mention their name. That I think people like to see their name mentioned. It's like, oh, I mean, what does it hurt you to say? Thank you, Judge Smith, for a lovely day. Or blah blah blah. Or, appreciate that. It's just nice. It's nice. And that's just good manners, right? But yeah, don't tag them. You can mention their name, like I know, like as when you are judging. I can't even share pictures of the dogs that I judged. Like if I'm at a show, I never share a picture of a dog that would, no, can't do that. And I can't share pictures that of other people's dogs, because that could be misconstrued as some sort of promotion. So you have to, there's little ethical lines that are have changed with the advent of social media and all that. But like I say, I think in the ring, at the show photo podium, the picture podium, and then on your social media or if your magazine ad, whatever. Those are all nice. Those are all nice. And if you're super organized and you've got time to stop, who doesn't like a nice little thank you note? That's very nice. I mean, I respect people that can do that. That's not me. I'm not that person, not that organized, never was. So I didn't even send out graduation announcements. I don't want to write the thank you notes.
I can write the
You
thank you
keep
now. It's the mailing of it that is. I'm just like, what crap.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, this
Okay.
thank you note's been sitting here for a year. Crap, I should probably send it.
Right.
You know.
Right. Right. Now it's embarrassing to send. Yeah.
How do judges like? How do you guys feel about like if you're sitting ringside, just waiting on a judge assignment and just hanging out? Like, how do you feel if somebody comes up and like thanks for this? Like, do you guys want to just be kind of left alone because you've been so busy with things, or do you mind if people come up and chit chat with you and like thank you, or is it more like keep it at the podium?
Well, I mean, everybody has a different there's not like one answer for that because like if someone's doing 170 dogs that day and they're doing owner handler groups and regular groups and special attractions groups and trying to get over to the lunchroom and trying to get their stuff turned in for their provisional observations and
Don't forget to
make it
sign
to
the
the
judge's
back.
book.
Yeah, and get to the bathroom. They might not have a lot of time for chit chat, and they might like have like 5 seconds just to decompress. So, but I mean, I think that I think that you kind of, you can't. It's pleasant. Pleasantries are always nice and brief to the point, and I mean, everybody likes to talk about dogs. I mean, there's this reason they're there. The dog shows dogs, but you know, do try to be respectful. Be respectful of everyone's time because one person who's just been run through the ringer, and they've had a lot of stuff going on there. So I mean, they might not have time. They might not, if they did. If your dog was 70, 80 dogs ago, they might not exactly remember why it went second. That's maybe not the time to ask them. You know, um, but, there you go. Just kinda put yourself in their situation, kinda see how you would feel.
Bring the human aspect into it because like they might
There
only
you
have
go.
40
Just
dogs they're
people.
judging that day, or they might have 150. And it's
Yeah,
just like you
no, I
never
mean,
really know where they're at. Or maybe they haven't even had
ex
lunch yet and they're starving and it's like they're just waiting to
yeah,
get there.
yeah. No, I was ring stewarding one time for a really super nice judge that I respect an awful lot, Doctor Shaw, kinda shout out there to Clyde, and he had just had knee surgery. And he'd been, like, taking he'd been all the stuff, and he was just finished, with his set, and he was gonna go to lunch, and someone came back over and like, "Oh, could you get a picture with me now?" And he had just sat down, and man, you knew he was not feeling the best. Got up, big smile, "Congratulations, beautiful dog." Went on over there, got the picture taken, wanted put himself before, I mean, I'm, like, thinking to myself, like, "That hurts just watching," but, there again, you know, the judges are there because they wanna be there, and a lot of them have super good attitudes and are really do above and beyond, and they want you to have the experience and all of that, but do try to be mindful.
That sounds like a situation where we'd call him a preservation judge.
He yeah,
Yeah, there we go.
yeah, he's the real deal.
All right. When doing AKC inspections, we've talked. So this is referring back to our AKC inspection episode and record keeping, and we talked about microchipping dogs. And when the AKC or state inspectors come in, they look at identification and microchipping. And say you have your puppies all microchipped. Do those
Mhm.
microchips now have to be registered, or can they just have the chip in it that goes back to your book? So you chipped your dogs, you just haven't registered them with AKC or Unite, but you have record of like 9506 goes to this puppy and it's in my kennel book system. Is that enough for the inspectors or do they have to
That
actually
is
physically
enough.
be ready? Okay.
That is enough. You have to have the dogs identified, whether that's a microchip or a collar or a tattoo or whatever. It had to be identified to have verified. Like the microchip is really great to have on your rabies vaccine, all of that type of stuff, where you have proof that that was the dog that was vaccinated, and all that. So you buy the chip, the lot is in your name, chip them out. If you sell them or transfer them, those then at that point in time, they should transfer that chip into the new owner's name and stuff, but you don't have to register each chip into your name, especially not on dogs that you might not keep, you know.
Yeah, because
So
then
as
you gotta
long
transfer them out to another owner, and that costs I mean, you're paying
right,
multiple people
right,
are paying multiple times, whether it's you or
right, right.
other
So
people.
I mean, once I buy the chips, so they are in my name, and I chip my dogs. If I transfer them out of my name, then I give them a transfer to transfer the ownership of the chip, because it just has to show that that the chip is recorded as yours, and which it is because you bought it, you know.
So
But then beyond that,
that
then next owner needs to register it in their name.
so that raises okay, so that brings up a question, 'cause a question for me, because I don't know that necessarily how that works. So I do know, like, when you buy a box of microchips from AKC or Unite, they send you the whole list and everything. So I would assume they know that those chips went to you. So if I implant one of those chips in my dog, now my dog gets out, but
Mhm.
I never registered it, and somebody scans it, they can trace that back to through AKC like through AKC that it belongs to me, even though the chip's never been registered outside of when I bought it.
Absolutely,
Oh, cool.
absolutely. So what has happened to me many times is like I have chips, and then I like my friends have like, oh, I need some chips, whatever. Like, oh, we'll take some, da, da, da. And then
You get
they'll
a
have
phone call.
transferred those dogs, and I'll get and it's like, "Oh, do you have your doggy Bordeaux that" like, "My what?" It's like, yeah, so whoever the chip the purchased the chip, that's the original name, so if you send those chips to let someone else, then at that point, it probably is incumbent, they should probably register them because they're the ones that gonna get the call. So, that kind of a thing, I mean, you have like if you in your litter records, if you have like I bought have these dogs, the chips, these are the new owners. Even if the new owners don't register them, you might have it in your kennel books program. I sold it to the Johnsons on this date, and this is the chip number, and I can find like, well, you found the dog, oh, that's the Johnson's dog, that kind of thing. You could still get it back to them.
Yeah, because I feel like that could be an issue at some point too. Is like you sell puppies that are chipped, and they decide like, I'm never going to register them. Like, you give them the
It
paperwork to
happens.
register it, and it's probably a 50-50 that they registered or they don't.
Well, I mean, I pressure them pretty hard on getting that chip transferred because I don't wanna be competition for Home Again Reunite. I don't wanna be the one having to keep the master list and going back 8, 9 years and saying, "Well, this dog was such and such." I mean, I think it's kind of important that they get that chip in their name, and I tell them, I mean, the other day I was at the show, I was judging, my phone's lighting up, my phone's lighting up, my phone's lighting up. I'm like, "Hmm,
And it
it's
wasn't me.
still lighting up."
Yeah.
And it wasn't you this time. And so I take a quick break and snip around the corner and like, it's one of the dogs that I sold 8 years ago. Um, someone left the gate open, she went for a walk, she's in a humane society and in another state. My
Yeah.
custom my customers that got the dog, they're already there, and they're telling them they can't get the dog because it's my dog. And my customers, which are lovely people, are threatening to go ahead and burn the place down. Like, if you think we're leaving without Daisy, you are so wrong. You know, like you got my dog in jail, and it's like, that's my dog, and it's my dog because you never transferred the chip. And I had to email that particular animal control agency saying that that is the Johnson's dog and please release them and da 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 da. So I mean, you might have an issue getting that dog back if you haven't put that into your name. That could be that could be a challenge for you.
So that's a good thing for breeders to just make sure that their buyers are educated on is like You want to
because
do
when
this,
people
don't skip
this
this because if
behooves
your
you.
dog ever gets out, they're gonna call me and you're gonna want your dog back and they're not gonna give it to you because it's gonna be registered to me and they're gonna have to get a hold of me and then I'm gonna have to sign off on it. And if I'm judging somewhere and can't answer my phone, you're gonna be sitting at the Humane Society without your dog until I can get this handled.
Yeah,
Put it in your name.
yeah,
Yeah, just do it.
yeah. Put it in your name. It's so easy. It's money well spent.
All right, that answers that. Then the next one is uh, as a dog buyer, you're purchasing whether you're purchasing a puppy for show or you're purchasing a pet dog. This person wants to know how you handle bad breeders that something goes wrong with the dog, they start ghosting you, you can't get a hold of them, you can't handle any of that, and you feel like you got taken for a ride. How do you go about handling that? And I think there's multiple, probably different ways to answer this, and it's probably very personality type dependent, based on your personality and how you feel you got slighted and how you handle that type of thing. But general rule of thumb type of situations that you've seen through the years.
Oh boy, here we go.
Yeah, tough one. Hey, we're gonna
So
end it with a tough one. Like we
yeah,
we, we hold
yeah,
nothing back here on the Tech Box
yeah.
podcast.
So the time to have all of that set aside and figured out is not once you've got the problem, once you've identified the problem. All the time that is with your sales contract. If it's over $5 and you're not willing to walk away from it, look at your sales contract, add to what you agreed to that you but back at the moment in time when you all thought each other were just wonderful and so smart, the best home ever, the most wonderful breeder, the best puppies, all of this, well, during all of this big love fest, that's when you memorialize your expectations of who's going to do what when shit goes south. I mean, because after it's done and you go back in there and you want to reshuffle the deck and try to sort all this out. It's like Judge Judy saying that we're not set up to go and figure out who, you bought dinner then Thursday and you put new tires on their car, trying to undo all this stuff here because that's not doable. That is not, you can't unwind that. So it's like, yes, you got the dog from them. Something is now wrong. Why is there something wrong? Is there something that you did that was wrong? Or maybe borderline wrong? Or maybe just not wrong for that puppy? Or just bad luck? Or was there actually something wrong? You know, I mean, how this is the time. This is, now we don't know. And when you're at the vet and your vet says, well, I think we need to do this, and that's a 1,500, $1,000 option on this. And then you're going to go ahead and go, well, the vet said it was $3,000. And you're going to go ahead and call up Tyson and say, now, Tyson, you owe me $3,000 on the dog you sold me for $2,000. Tyson's going to go, oh, hell no. You know, no, 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 no. The time, it's like all of these decisions, all these conversations need to happen before, you know, I mean, because there is no after. After is not, whatever you have written on that contract, that's your after, and so if there is nothing, if there is no contract, there is no after. you know, then you're just two ships that passed in the night and a dog jumped off on one and ended up onto the other. It's like, don't call because we have no agreement. And if there is an agreement, then it should be written down. Like who's going to pay for what before you expect. And I know like in my sales contract and guarantee, you have to contact me before you spend money that you want me to pay because I might have an opinion on that. And if you just want to spend the money and then complain about it later, that was your money and your decision. Now, you did not get I didn't sign off on that. So whenever you're going to have these opportunity, these problems come up, because and I see a lot of that stuff like people don't want to take ownership of. It's like I want to take the dog, but I really want it to still be your problem. And that sales contract is your warranty on your car. And the car in the the car dealership's like, "After this many miles and after this length of time, it's your car. If it blows up, sorry." Not really, come buy another one, and, because they have a limited, like, "We'll do this and this and this. After that, we're not gonna do it." And every time you have one of those little arguments, those little set tos, that was a lovely combination of people not following, good business. You know, if you owe puppies back, you put down when, where, how, who's paying what, who's furnishing stud service, who's doing this, who's gonna we're gonna show it, how many times, who's paying the entry fees. I mean, all of this in advance, because it can't be open-ended. It can't be like, "Well, you're just gonna do that forever because," no. No, 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 you know, because people are gonna go, they're gonna real quick get over it, and so that's my take on it, is there are really no bad customers and bad breeders. Is just bad communication coming to light on two separate people. And that might be a perfectly lovely customer for somebody else. That might be a absolutely fabulous breeder for somebody else, but their lack of communication, lack of professionalism, lack of writing it all down has now put them in a spot where they're going to be hating on each other for the next 5 years, and, blowing up the internet and making all of our suffer through it on our Facebook feed as we have to read about you whining about how bad she is and how da 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 da, and she don't care about none of this. And, yeah, before, before you take it.
Yeah, and I was gonna make the comparison to, like, a car warranty, and I was like, I don't know if I should compare dogs to cars." I don't know, because there's the animal and the living
It's
thing aspect of it, but it's the same. It's the
money.
same. Yeah, I mean, if your health guarantee is a 1-year health guarantee, and 3 years down the road something happens to the dog, it's like the health guarantee expired 2 years ago. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know what you expect the breeder to do at that point. They can't guarantee, you can't guarantee this dog's gonna live 20 years or whatever it is. There's a specific. And it's like, and I can feel this way. You have that 3-year, 36,000 mile car warranty, and your car gets to 37,000, and something goes wrong. You're like, of course the warranty just expired, and it's like, well, there's got to be an end date at some point. It's like, sorry you happen to have issues 1,000 miles after the end date, but there has to be some sort of end date and rules and guidelines at some point. And it's like getting pulled over going 4 miles an hour over, and it's like, well, I'm only going 4 miles an hour over. Right, but the speed limit is 4 miles ago. You were still going over the speed limit. Like, there's got to be a point somewhere where it's like, this is the rule. We're gonna stay within that guideline, or else you're breaking the rule. You're outside of the box that we're supposed to be in. So I think,
And the more disclosure you do, and this is, since the breeders it's kind of like, it's the breeder's game. It's like, this is your home court advantage, you know? So it just does nothing but protect you, and it protects the situation. It protects the puppy. It gives the buyer parameters, because even if they come back with some crazy, like, "I want this and that," and you gotta show them the piece of paper and go, "See where you signed right there? And it said we're gonna this, and this. This is what we're doing." And they may not like it, but they'll come to acceptance fairly quickly. And they might question your parentage. They might have something they might not like it, but you followed your deal. And when someone's bitching about somebody and they followed their deal, you just kinda go, "Too bad." Don't, if you don't like the deal, then don't do the deal next time. You know, it's like, you think the deal sucks? Well, then don't take it. But the more information. And so that's like, if your puppy has a hernia, and, like, for me, most of ours do, it's not a big deal. You know, they're gonna be spayed or neutered, gonna fix it then. It's not a 911, but be the one to share it. Don't let them have it on their home inspection vet visit where they're gonna go, "Oh, there is an umbilical hernia, and it's gonna be a $25,000 procedure." No, no, you need to go in there and just say, you know, this is there's an umbilical hernia. This is going to be fixed on this much. My vet charges this much. Make sure that put that right, jot it down, put it in the contract. Small naval hernia, such and such, make them sign. Because that way, when they get around to going to the vet, which was supposed to be in 48 hours, but they actually didn't do it for 3 months, and then they show up there and they call you back and they're like, the vet said it has a hernia. And it's like, yeah, let's go ahead and grab that contract again. See right where it says hernia? Still has it. You know, the more you share, the more you put out there, if you want to, and if you have the wherewithal, doesn't hurt to go ahead and run and get a puppy check done on before you go. You can say, we had it checked out. This is what our vet, all of that stuff. You know, here's your shot records, here's whatever you've got. The more you bring to the sale, the more effort you put into that is an insurance policy for whatever complaints that might follow. You know, and I mean, are they still going to be some people that are going to be unhappy and go, 3 years ago, I got a dog from you and it just didn't fulfill every dream I've ever had. I don't want to give it back. And I want to, da da da. I just want to complain a lot. Well, ah, those people are going to be unhappy anyway, so let them be, next time they'll be unhappy with somebody else. It's okay. But you really just want to go ahead and memorialize it, write it down. Go and pilfer through and look at other people's contracts and see what they're saying. Look at people that, seem to have a good grasp on it, you know get all of those things out in advance, identifying the puppy, what the shots are, what the type of registration, you know, whatever health problems there's gonna be, what you're gonna do. Do they have to return the puppy? Are you gonna return the money? You're gonna send them a replacement? You can let them keep the puppy? All of this is all has to be identified up front. If it's a show puppy, you know, whose name's gonna be on the puppy, how's the registration, yada, 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 yada. Anything that you might possibly think about that could come up, that's the time before it happens.
And it's breed. It can be breed specific too. It's like I learned real quick. Like one of the first puppies I sold, they took it to the vet to do the vet inspection, and the vet wasn't familiar with Japanese chin and started freaking out about this hernia. So it was like then the buyer is all of a sudden freaking out about this hernia, so I had to educate him, and it's like now I educate every buyer on umbilical hernia because it's like I don't want it coming back to me, and I understand at this point that majority of vets are not familiar with Japanese chin or umbilical hernias, and they think these they put it they're a for-profit business. So if there's an umbilical hernia and something they can fix, they are going to make it to where we need to fix this, to the puppy owner and pull on the heartstrings and try to get the money of fixing this umbilical hernia right now. And
Absolutely.
and it doesn't need to happen right now. So you got to educate the buyers on, yes, this puppy has an umbilical hernia. 99% of Japanese chin have umbilical hernias. It's from the birthing process. It's fine. They will live just fine if you never fix it, most likely. But you can fix it when you spay or neuter them, and it is an extra $20 or whatever it is to fix
Right,
it. It's not a big deal. Your vet's gonna tell you it's a big deal. Not a big deal. Trust
right.
me. Like being able to, like you said, educate them.
Help them navigate the process,
Yeah.
because vets, just like breeders and just like customers, you get these wonderful vets that just like walk on water that you think are just like the best. We get the okay vets that are just like, pay them and they'll do what they're supposed to do, and they have, and you're gonna get the ones that are gonna try and soak them for every dime, and they're gonna run the panic flag and try to make everything into a huge thing so they can walk out and, with a huge bill and all that, and and they don't really care if they throw you under the bus with the customer, because you're not their customer. They don't care if you live or die. You know, you can be the villain, they can be the hero, they're gonna get the money, it's all good. So, but like I say, all of that stuff there in all of your problems, and if your contract doesn't say how the problem handled, then just drop it. It's your dog. Go take care of it however you want to, and do better next time.
Well, yeah, and as a, I hate to say it, but as a buyer, is just like you bought something, it turned out the way it is. Like, sometimes you gotta look in the mirror and just like, did I, is there anything I did? Could I have done better? Like, what's the situation? It is what it is. I purchased something, here we are.
Sometimes
I could
it's
see if it
great,
was like the
sometimes
next
it's not.
day, but it's how can
Sure,
you handle the
sure.
situation differently and go from there. But I don't know. Like you said, there's gonna be good buyers, there's gonna be bad buyers, there's gonna be good sellers and bad sellers, but you might get what you think is a bad buyer and a bad seller, and you give it to somebody else, and they're like, "This is the best one ever," because a lot of times it's just how you communicate with people that can make or break a deal.
Well, here's something that not everyone, no one's going to agree with this. This is no one will
Oh, here
agree
we
with
go.
this,
We're gonna get canceled
but
after a
it's
year. Let's go.
but it's true. The reason why, even after all these years, there's still pet stores and pet stores still sell dogs. They're overpriced. They're usually not the greatest quality because they have a ton of communication with their customers. There is tonnage of paperwork. Is just it's like closing on your house, buying a puppy from them. I mean, they outline everything that could possibly ever be involved with that dog is all communicated out. Now, they're charging you a ton of money for it. It's probably not that great a quality. All of that all might be true, but they do a better job of selling it. They do a better job of communication. They do a better job of educating their buyer of what is expected and what is, I mean, they're going to go through the paperwork and they're going to have all of that there than a really, really super good puppy that a very loving preservation breeder had that didn't have time to talk to you. So they had their sister-in-law meet you over you know, at Taco John's and give you the puppy because they're on their way out to a dog show and they're all of that this all this quality and while they're over there doing all this important stuff, but they neglected the contract and the sale and the communication of the pertinent facts. And that's why those shops have survived all of the scorn and the hate and all of that stuff. They do a good job. They do a better job of representing, selling, and communicating. And the buyers know what they're getting, and they're telling them out there, and they tell them how it's going to go down and how they're going to pay for it, and all of that. So you can't knock the communication. It's because it's still a transaction for a lot of money, and
You want
they do a good job there.
you know why else they can sell puppies that are overpriced? Because you can walk in and get it today. And that's the type of world we're in.
They're
So here,
available.
if you're a breeder, that's is basically saying like, look in the mirror. It's like breed more. There you go. Breed more dogs because
Be available.
people want you're going to sell what's available. If people contact you and there's not dogs available, they can't buy a dog from you. So have it
If I go
have
on
dogs
somebody's
available.
website if I go on somebody's website and it hasn't been updated since Obama left office, if I go on someone's website and they want me to do a questionnaire, hell no. I'm not working for you. I'm paying you. Talk to me. To answer I don't want I'm not doing this. I'm not even gonna ask you about your dog if I don't know how much money it is. Is it 500, 5,000, 50,000? I'm not gonna it's like, we're not gonna waste our time on this. I mean, I wanna know upfront, what am I in for? You know, put your contract out there, put your price out there, put what you have out there. I mean, and I'm a dog person, but I'm not gonna spend "Oh, I don't know, what was the last 5 pets we had, and what's our groomer's phone number so they can" I'm not doing this. I mean, give me some customer service and make this a professional, clean, smooth transaction, and we're talking. So that kind of thing, I mean, because it is a transaction when it's all said and done, they want paid. They want paid like they did it professionally.
I like
When it comes to the paying,
I like the wait list people that still do wait lists. It's like nobody wants to be on a wait list. Like you're gonna waste more time putting
well,
these people on a wait list that and never and get zero return out of it because nobody's gonna wait. They're gonna go to the next person that has a dog available. But you're gonna go and call them and they're gonna be like, Oh, I bought a dog 6 months ago. Oh, the day that I put you on my wait list. Okay, because you didn't want to wait. We're not in a waiting world. Amazon ruined that.
No,
We're in a world now
no.
where it's like, oh, you don't have a dog? Cool. Next breeder. You got a dog? Nope. Next one. You got a dog? Yep. Okay, I'll take it. That's just where
You
we're at.
know, I'm looking at these new shoes that I'm wanting to buy, and I got Jane's got, and she says they're going to be released in the United States on April 17th, and they're in Mexico on March 30th, and Canada doesn't get them till May 1st, and we could order them from this store in Mexico and have them sent now. I mean, they have all of this information. It's like, you know, how long it's going to be, what exactly. I mean, this is how we train. This is how we do transactions, and we're talking a substantial amount of money. We're talking thousands of dollars. So, it's incumbent that the consumers need to be smart. And like, I'm spending thousands of dollars and it's going to involve the next decade plus of my life. And I'm going to be I'm taking on the responsibility of something that could be even more thousands of dollars, will be more thousands of dollars. So I need to know this upfront, and the sellers need to bring as professional a job as they can. They need to be as, transparent and as helpful, and also like, keep helping everybody manage their expectations. It's not going to sleep through the night. It doesn't know you. It's a baby. All of this stuff that you need to like get these people from here over to here where the puppy is. And if they can't make that, well then next, you know, they don't get
But
a
people
puppy.
ask all the time, about potty training and everything. And it's like, I'm going to be real with you. It's going to poop on the floor. It's going to happen. It's a puppy. It's going to have an accident. It's like, how can you help, keep the world small? Take it outside, do all the things. Option for success and things like that is what can you do to help the puppy have success? But at the end of the day, it's a puppy. It's probably still going to poop on the floor once or twice. And it's just part of what
It's
you're
gonna
taking
happen.
on, Like, it's like you get that question a lot. Is it potty trained? It's 12 weeks old. It's not potty trained. I mean, it likes its litter box and it can do good and it's got a really good head start on, on things, but you're
Mhm.
going to take it home and you're going to throw it in a world that it has no clue about and new people, new
Kinda like,
surrounding, like it's got to figure it out again.
yeah, like, I'm gonna bring this baby home from the hospital. Is it gonna be athletic? I don't want this kid if it's athletic, you know? Yeah. Kinda looks like a little Michelin man right there. It doesn't look like, it's like, is it gonna be a little sumo kid? I mean, you don't know, so there is all that, but we really do need to take that opportunity of your website with your information and your communication and all of that to really put all of it up front and get
Educate
that
your buyers as a seller, more education, less problems you're going to have. As a buyer,
bingo.
ask questions and get the education. Find out what as much information as you can. And if they aren't willing to share it with you, I suppose maybe just move on to a different one.
Yep, swipe right.
That information should be there. So, all right. That'll wrap up this episode of the Tack Box Podcast. We answered quite a few questions and had some very good conversations to kick off our second year of the Tack Box
Yeah,
Podcast. So
didn't
thank
you?
you everybody for being a part of this year-long journey for us with many more years to come. And at some point, well, you saw somebody at the show this weekend that was a
Yes.
listener, right?
Yeah, actually, I was
Is this
visiting with
somebody you
them.
knew previously or somebody that just kind of
No,
came up and was like, hey, I listened to the podcast. Can I get a
yeah,
picture?
no, yeah, this very nice lady came over. She's a visit. She's a friend of on the tack box, and she's like, "Oh, excellent,"
Yeah,
So yeah, very nice,
that's awesome.
super nice.
That's fun stuff, I haven't been to a show in a while, but, when I was and people came up, I was like, "Oh, this is cool," It's like you almost feel slightly celebrity-ish,
There you
It's like,
go,
there you go.
ever so slightly.
All right, everybody, we'll talk to you next week on the TechBox Podcast for episode 54. Don't forget to like and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast network, including YouTube, and on our Facebook group. We will talk to you guys all next week. Bye-bye now. If you've made it this far, you've made it to the end of the podcast, and we extremely appreciate you for listening to the whole episode. It helps us grow. It shows the algorithms that you're engaged with the TACBox podcast. You're the best of the best, and we appreciate it. Don't forget, we come out with a new episode every Wednesday. and we would love for you to continue to join us. Also, hit us up on Facebook. We have a Facebook group, the Tac Box Podcast. We have the page. Like it. And send your questions in. Help us grow.